I got you up. I think everything is good.
Yay.
Do you have Twitch on your phone or wherever
I have
else you watch
Twitch.
it? Okay, cool. All right. So I heard something interesting today, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so if this could, I'm only gonna say from the male perspective because I'm a dude. Okay, so as a
I
guy,
prefer that. I don't want you to talk from a
well,
female
I just don't want to
perspective,
sound
please.
sexist, but okay, so a dude, as he has friends and they get married, like let's say, he's in his teens or whatever, and then he gets his 20s and 30s. As he gets older and his friends start getting married off, they kind of leave his circle, you know?
Mm.
And so like your advice about relationships gets worse and worse because the people that are left aren't in relationships.
Yeah,
They
they're the
start
rejects. You
yeah,
get the
they're the
advice
ones
from the
that
rejects.
right, and the ones that come back are the ones that are done with relationships or they got divorced or whatever, and then they come back to the circle. So
Right.
like if you want advice by the people around you and you start taking that advice, it's by people who are not successful. The more successful they are, the less good advice you're going to have because you're not asking them because they're gone.
Yes and no. I don't know. I think that the people who have been through divorce and all that have got plenty of good advice.
Well, it depends.
Yes,
How
that
many divorces?
I dare say that they would be more likely to have more info.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
there's no secret recipe to successful relationship. Much as like that's disappointing to hear for all those people that have bought like 100 marriage books, self-help books, like the answer is in one of these books.
What
Um
is it? Just stay like pay attention to your partner.
no, I don't know. I just think that like every relationship is so different. There's no like special formula.
Mm.
And there might be some things that
there there is a special formula for messing it up. Stop paying attention. Start caring more about
yeah,
yourself. Start doing your own thing. That'll
yeah,
help.
kind of. But you can also do the right thing and then that person move on as well, probably. I don't know.
Well, yeah,
I
yeah.
really don't know. But someone is like with everything else in life, someone who's like tried and failed at things, those people are going to have advice to give you. And people that just cruised, they're going to have less advice to give you. So why is it any different with relationships? Why do we look at someone who got divorced and like, oh, I don't want to hear your relationship advice. You can't do it. You
Well,
just
no,
can't do it.
the specific thing that I'm talking about here is not the divorce people that get in. Is like your friends who get married, who get in relationships, they're gone. So the
Mm,
people who are left are the people who are not in relationships.
right. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to present this as fact or as a hypothesis. I'm trying to present this as a game mechanic. Like your actions become
Of
worse
course
and
you are.
worse. Your actions become worse and worse because the good actions get married and go off and have baby actions somewhere. So the actions that are left are the shit actions nobody wants.
Oh man, that's so sad.
Well, that made me think of that as the game mechanic it's all about that. It's all about the actions, the actions that are left that didn't get married off and have baby actions.
I do think that is an interesting thing in life, though, that we do look at someone who's, quote unquote, had a failed relationship
I don't think you'd say
and
fail.
then
You'd call them
and then go,
damaged. Damaged goods. You mean damaged goods people? That's
that's
what you mean.
horrible. No, I don't mean that. People think that, but I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all. Like, I got married really young and it went downhill pretty quickly. And I learned so much from that. And I don't think I came out of that like, oh no, she doesn't know how to relationship. It was more like, oh, okay. I
Yeah, but
know like what I want now, kind of. As
right.
much as you can know what you want.
Yeah, but okay. So let me present it like if it's me. I got married. It didn't work out. I learned a lot, but can the banana tell that it's bruised? Can like can I look at myself and say I'm not damaged goods? You know, I don't feel like I'm damaged goods, but maybe I can't see the bruises. Maybe I'm a banana and I can't see the bruises on my behind. So, you know, I'm not saying you have
Hey.
bruises or don't have bruises, but the thing is that you're qualified to say if you learned anything, but are you qualified to say if you're damaged because the opposite sex is the one that's looking to find out. Like they're the one judging the fruit.
Right. They're the one touching the fruit. Yeah. I mean,
So you're
I
like a banana
guess.
going, I'm not damaged, pick me, pick me.
I no, I don't think so. I just think that advice wise, I think advice
Advice.
wise, you have more to share because you've
Mm,
made the mistakes. It's like learn from my mistakes, don't make your own kind of thing. But
mm.
you just reminded me like when I was, like 15 and that I'd just like look at adults and I'd just be like, you guys just get more and more like, you know, weird and like
Screwed up? What are you
damaged.
talking
Yeah,
about?
screwed up as you get older. That's like the more and more like I just thought adults were so weird and I just thought they were like so crazy. And obviously crazy. Like how can you not realize you've got issues? Like that was my opinion of like older people. How can
Mm.
you not see your issues?
So is there
Why are
any
you telling
way,
kids what to do when you guys have got no clue?
could you look at yourself as the kid Sarah looking at your older self and saying, why are you trying to give me advice? What can you do that?
Probably.
Mm.
I think I
I'm
can.
just
I don't
curious.
think I don't think I
You
really
don't think
give
you're
people
immune from it?
advice for this reason, for this very reason. Like, don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm.
But actually, you made me like remember something I was thinking about this week because so in my histology class I was talking to one of the other students, this girl called Ashley, and she was saying something that made me laugh. She was like, "Oh yeah, I was doing some subject and I went to the like late night class, which was kind of weird because it was such a weird mix of people at
Hmm.
my table. And there was like a lot of older people and it just didn't make any sense. Like the whole table didn't make sense. And I'm just sitting here like, oh, older people, gross. And I'm like, and then she's like, yeah, one of them was like 24, and one dude was 29. And I'm like, I was just like, oh God,
Getting
like, and
smaller and smaller.
yeah, yeah. And I literally said this to her. I'm like, oh God, why are you telling me this? Like, this is me you're talking about. And, and so we were just talking about like how weird it is that, um, to be the older person, it's weird because you really do feel like she's saying now, you feel like no one wants to be there with you. Like no one wants you at their table.
Hmm.
No one wants you at their lunch table because you're an old fart. And but the thing that I was thinking after that whole thing, and she was really sweet, by the way, and like yeah, she was really sweet. And I put her on the spot. I was like, come on, you have to guess how old I am now because that's like the joy that I get out of this conversation. Like you've made me feel awkward. Now I'm going to make you feel awkward. um, but later I was thinking, it's so easy for me to relate back to how they were. Like it's so fucking easy for me. Like I can imagine how they feel. I can imagine how they feel about talking to me and what they think of me. And it's similar to that whole thing like, oh, they're kind of like a weird old person. And it doesn't work the other way around. And it feels like it was just yesterday. Like for us, it feels like it was just yesterday because our mental growth, even though I think that I've grown a lot, I have not grown anywhere near as much as I grew throughout my teenage years to
Hmm.
being like
That's pretty
20,
fast. Yeah.
one or whatever she is now. I think she's like about 20 roughly. Um, so that all just happened so fast and then you just kind of stop and you almost feel like you're the same as you were when you were that age. So for me to relate to her, it's so easy, but for her to relate to me, it's totally not the same thing. She's never been my age. She's got no idea. Like those
Right.
years for her are huge, even though for me it feels like it was just yesterday and it doesn't feel huge at all. And so it's this really weird thing with older and younger people.
Yeah, but I mean, you also have to understand though that it's completely different with people's experiences because like me, having a bad memory helps me like a bad short-term memory helps me not relate to young people. Like I can't remember being I mean, I can remember small sections, but I cannot I like you were saying that you could feel like you could relate to her. I couldn't relate to somebody
Mm,
even 7 years younger than me because I
really?
don't have that great
That
of a
means you can't
memory.
relate to me. I'm 9 years younger than you.
I know. I can't. There's a lot of
And you're like,
there's a
you're a freak. I can't relate to you.
If I were to look at my younger self, I wouldn't recognize that person, and I couldn't understand why they feel the way that they do, because I'm a very forward moving person,
Mm,
and I'm always looking forward. I'm very rarely looking back, and
yeah.
it's almost impossible if I wanted to be that way because my memory doesn't work that great anyway.
Mm,
So I couldn't be a good person to relate to a young person. I don't. I
yeah.
guess it's just so we're so different in that way. Like if
We
I'm
are so
sitting
different in that way.
yeah, if I was sitting at a table and they said something about, we need to be around old people and stuff, and I'm like, well, when you get my age, you don't care. You don't care about the table you're at because you realize
Yeah.
I'm here to learn. So
Yeah.
you start becoming a fuddy duddy.
Yeah.
You pull out like some licorice out of your pocket, some black licorice, and start feeding it to the young kids if they want any.
Yeah, I guess that's the other thing with me is that I haven't kind of lost that. I mean, you're a bit like this too. You don't like authority. And I think I've kind
No,
of,
I hate authority. Yeah,
right. And I think that, I am a young, older person. And I
a
say
young
older,
older
like,
person.
yeah, that's what I mean. Literally, like I'm young. I guess they call it young at heart or whatever they call it, which I think is
Hmm.
kind of a weird expression. But like, I look at some people my age and I'm like, you are an old fuddy duddy. Like, you are a
Butterscotch,
Luddite. Like some people are just really old before their
corn
time.
pop.
I'm not that person. And so, a lot of the teachers that like, so maybe it's just easier for me to relate because of that, maybe. I don't know.
I don't
But it
know.
kind of puts me in I'm like in a weird space. I can't relate. But that's just me. I've never been able to relate to like people that well anyway. Like I've always felt like I'm a little bit out of the loop. That's just a general feeling I've always had. So maybe it's just me. It's just a me thing. But I know that like when I was younger, I actually, there's a few like rare cases and using another um, you know, what do you call it? Proverb thing. There's like the whole old soul thing. And people
Hmm.
used to say that about me because I felt like I could relate. Like I always had older friends. I always
Hmm.
hung out with older people.
Hmm.
So I guess they're not all like that. Like there are some younger people that can relate to older people, and
Maybe.
I was one of those.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, I think for me that authority thing has nothing to do with age. I think
Right.
it doesn't matter what age I am, I'm gonna hate
Yeah.
authority. But that also has to be like, being a long haired kid and just like just in the metal and being different and whatnot. So it's just I'm just always gonna hate authority because of that.
Yeah. There's like reasons why I hate authority, but I think there's like when I was saying that, I think it's kind of just because there is like an interrelatedness there because I do respect some authority, but it depends on what they're like and how
Mm,
they go about presenting that authority. You know what I mean?
right.
Like there are some teachers I absolutely respect, and I'm like, you know, I would never sort of do that whole teenager roll my eyes thing and oh here we go, the old fart kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
um, there are some that I do like. Okay, so my one of the microbiology dudes, like the first thing he said was like literally the first thing he said was you know like his name, and then he said I I was going to say something, but I can't say that anymore because people get offended. Or that was like the first thing he said, and I immediately like lost respect for this person just because they're like old and complaining about the way things are these days. I have to watch what I say and be all PC and like getting on like that, like in the first sentence or
Mm-hmm.
something. So that kind of thing. I'm like, no.
He definitely put distance between him and the younger people.
Right,
A
right.
lot of
Even
distance.
me, and I'm like, I was, not the young person, like not really the young person, but yeah, it was funny. Anyway, it's weird being back at school.
Well, that just reminds me of this thing that like the speed of perception. Um, I think that in the speed of perception, I would be slow. Like I'm a slow person, just in general, very cool, chill, don't move real fast or anything. So, um, okay, so did I ever tell you about the starfish thing, like how aggressive starfish are? Like,
I've seen them fight before
yeah,
with their
yeah,
like
like they
crazy
take
pucker
like
things.
ages to fight. Like
Right.
they fight for area, like they do area control in years.
Yeah.
Like they're sitting, they have to drift towards each other and then like
They're very
fight and
slow.
stuff. And like 3 years later, they win. They like the fight is determined.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah. So like
Can you
that just
imagine? You'd be
makes
like, what are we even fighting about? I can't remember.
well, they have a one track mind, I'm sure,
Right.
for years, just trying to get across a puddle to fight the other
While they're
starfish. That's
fighting, like
yeah,
2 years of fighting, and there's like other starfish that already moved in and they didn't notice.
yeah. It would be this whole thing. So I don't know, just being an just seeing the world a little bit slower changes your perception of some of that thing. 'Cause, okay, so I don't know if related or not related. When they talk about like Julius Caesar, whenever they talk about him, they talk about how fast he was. Like he was quick witted. He would like if he had to do something, he would just get up and go and do it. Like there was no let's assess the situation. There was nothing. He was just let's fucking get it done. He was that.
Hmm.
That's what they say that he was like,
Yeah,
and
that's like
like
me.
his whole
Without
version of the
thinking about
world.
it, without any direction,
Yeah,
just
without just go and fucking do it. And like their perception of the world is completely different than mine. Which brings me to this other thing. Wow, this is all linking a bunch of stuff that I've checked out this week. Okay, so yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so Dr. Dre
Mm.
had do you know a song called California Love?
Yes,
It
everyone knows that
Yeah,
song.
okay. So
I played
California
it for
Love.
Zolly the other day. I was thinking it might blow his mind.
And he's
It
like, "What's
didn't.
this old shit?"
Yeah, I was like, nah. But he really was. He was into Gangsta's Paradise. That's why I had to play that after Gangsta's
Oh,
Paradise.
it's
Hey,
Ian.
Ian.
Okay,
Anyway, sorry, I
so
totally interrupted you. California Love.
yeah, California Love. So Dr. Dre didn't have lyrics for the song. He had it basically ready. Okay,
Hmm.
so he had a big crew and he had them separated into little divisions and whatnot. Like, you had the dog pound and you have I think they were called like the outsiders or some shit like that. He had all these
Yeah.
little crews, right? And
Hmm.
everybody wanted that song. And he had it like for a while and he was trying to figure out, he knew it was going to be a hit. So he just had to put the artist that would get that song. Basically, it was their turn to shine and make everybody money, right? And make themselves
Right.
rich or whatever. So when Tupac got out of prison, he gave it to Tupac and basically said, "It's your turn to shine." And so, like everybody else, just fell in line because, you know, it was his
Hmm.
turn. He got out of prison. We're gonna give you this song. It's gonna put you back on the map. You got to come out hitting strong with your new album. This is gonna be the main single of the album. So, can you imagine sitting on a song is gonna
Is
be
a
a hit?
hit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hit. You can pair it with almost any artist. You're gonna make it a hit,
Mm.
and you just sit there and you wait. You wait
Mm.
till the right time with the right artist. Just it's going to pay off. Figure out what's going to pay off dividends. That is the opposite of Kickstarter. Kickstarter is I got an idea. I want to get shit done. Let's fucking take it to the thing. Let's not develop it. Let's get it out there. Well, I'm not saying all
Right.
Kickstarter, but there's a lot of that shit. And in the board game industry, it always trips me out that it is a lot of that. It is let's hurry up. Let's hurry it up. We've got this window. We got to do this. Like it makes sense if you're a company and you've got bills to pay, you need to get a game out in every quarter or maybe in three
Mm.
of the 4 quarters and you've got it all figured out and you got your budget. Here's what you got to make and all that shit. That makes sense. But when you're an individual and you're making a game, unless it's a mechanic that's going out of fashion real quick, like right now, I would say you got about a week left on making trick taking games. After that, you're done. It is already flooded. I mean, it is crazy flooded with tricks with trick taking games right now. But anyway, so yeah, it's that same thing. Like if you have a hit, if you have something good that isn't part of the current fashion, why not wait? And I've talked about this before. You know,
Yeah, we've argued about this because I'm like, oh my god, you've got so many good games that like I'm like, why isn't Conflict of Clans a game already? Like, why is it just sitting there? Why
because
have
I
you
miss
just
because I missed my window, and it'll do
you're
better
waiting
whenever I have
for
a bigger name.
you're waiting
If I
for
have a
your
bigger
Tupac,
name, I can release it,
right?
and we can rework it. We rework it to the modern feeling of
Yeah, I'm
games.
not having a go at you now. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
we've had
yeah.
this conversation and it's you sitting on your thing, and I'm like, don't sit on it, just Kickstarter, let's do it.
I like sitting on things.
Yeah.
I can't believe Ian called you a nerd. He didn't call me a nerd. I know he's not talking about me.
No, he's not talking about me. Even though I take cool things and make them nerdy,
What?
comparing gangster rap to board games.
Oh,
There's
fuck.
so many overlaps there. There's just so many
There's so
overlaps.
many. Doing
Oh
something
god.
successful, I think there's a lot we can learn from other industries, and I really think the rush is a failure.
The rush is a failure. She wants to take her clothes off. Ren, yeah,
Oh no,
it's
plural.
too hot. She
I
wants
can't
to
believe you. Nerdettes. I would call them nerdettes, not nerds.
Nerd.
Nerdettes. They're both nerdettes, plural.
Oh man. I
The
told her she
people in
can't wear that
Australia.
dress. It's way too hot. Way too hot for that.
Uh,
Anyway. No, it's
no,
plural, yeah.
you're talking
No,
about
what I
how
was
much
gonna say was
the
obviously like this, this day and age. So back when like California Love came out, it was like there was like a few people on top, and everyone wanted to get on top, and there was hardly anyone up there, right? And then
Mhm.
that's why you had like people like us who were into like alternative music and alternative things, and and now it's like cool because now it's the day and age that anyone can do any of the things. Like if you want to, you know you want to be a singer, you want to be a rap star, just start. Go on TikTok, do your thing.
just do it.
Like there's just anyone can do anything now. Just do it. Just get a camera and just start doing it, right? And
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I think it's
There's no
way
none of
more
that barrier.
competitive because of that. It's competitive in the lower ranks now. Like you really get to see. Like, okay, were you around for the SoundCloud thing? It was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It was longer than that, but like 6 years ago, it was about the end of the SoundCloud rap era, where it was just crazy. Like that's where the real battles for rap was at. That's where you
Mm,
would hear all the new artists. Now it's TikTok, but at that
yeah.
time, like SoundCloud was, you would hear like it was okay. Instead of keep interrupting myself, it was
No, do it.
extremely competitive. It is what like okay. So you hear like of when we were kids, the Seattle thing, right? So
Mm,
the Seattle thing was this competitive thing that was going on around Seattle, and other bands were trying to sound like that, right? Well, you
yep.
also had like if you go to like glam metal, it was the same in the LA scene. If you go to death metal, it was all the same in the Florida scene. If you do black metal, it was the same in the Norwegian scene. Like everybody has their little area, and they're all competing in that area. Well, now when you go to like TikTok and stuff, it is the world competing on the same stage, which is really a trip. It's amazing.
Yeah. It is amazing. It is cool. I mean, I think, you're right. They were competing, but they were also not competing, right?
Now what? Now here, this
They
is where we're
were
gonna.
competing, but they weren't really. Like they were all like friends, and they were all like on each other's, set lists, like on each other's, gigs and stuff like that. You wouldn't just go see one band. Like they were all mates, and they were all like they all made the scene. Like they all made the scene. It wasn't like
Right, right, but
they
they
were
were
stealing. Like fans were fans of all of the, basically all of the grunge bands. They weren't
right. But one of the things
competing.
that made each band better is because they were striving to be better than their mates. I mean, even though they
Right.
might be on the we're all friends and this is not a zero sum game, and one we'll all float to the top at the same time or whatever. You
Yeah, and trying to
still
innovate this way and
yeah,
that way, like
you would see
pushing
so and so
envelope.
play a freaking badass lead, or well, not so much in the recording scene. You'd see somebody do something badass. You'd be like, oh, we got to do better than that. Look at their fucking live show and look what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can we be better or different, or how can we compete?
Yeah. Right. And it's cool that I think that's one of the good things. And that's why, like, I don't really slander these crowdfundy things that much because you can get something amazing and you can, you know, I don't like that whole attitude of like, oh, anyone can just do any old crap. Like, well, no. Like you said, it is still like it's a competitive environment. It's
It's
still going
extremely
to,
competitive.
the good stuff's still going to get noticed and the bad stuff
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going to ignore. And yeah,
I but I don't think the good stuff gets noticed as much. There's just so much good.
because
There's
there's so
that's
much
how
volume.
yeah. There's so much good stuff that it like you have to really nitpick to find the best. And then there's some games that are just slightly under that, Where before there was a wide enough market to like notice it, but now it's like, well, now you've got to be the best. Sorry, you've got to be the best. You just didn't cut it. Your game is just 2 minutes longer than the other one, or whatever it is that you like the other
2
game
minutes
better for.
longer.
Well, okay, so Alma Mater and Praga came out at the same time, at the exact same time, same freaking week or whatever. Um, oh, Ian has a lot to say, so let me finish this and then we'll see what he says.
Yeah.
Um, I think Alma Mater was the better game, but not the rest of the scene didn't think so. The rest of the board game
Right.
scene didn't think so.
Yeah.
So
But
Praga
that's for other
was the
reasons.
better, was the game that did better.
Yeah. Well, there's still that whole accessibility thing. Like the more people that are going to play your game, the better. And, obviously having a name for yourself as a designer wins out most of the time against a person that you don't really know.
Exactly. Conflict of Plants. Got to wait for the name. All right. What is the
So
guy?
Ian says, do you think that eliminates the effect that we used to have where a local scene would take on a unique personality, then build to a size where it exploded into the mainstream? I think sometimes the hyper-connected nature of online media removes the gestation period that needs things to grow. That's interesting.
It's I've thought that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
Hmm.
If you're an artist, right? Some are in that hyper mode of I've got to get seen, I've got to get seen, but others are in that hyper creativity mode. In the
Hmm.
hyper creativity mode,
Where
like
they're
when I'm
hunkering down.
getting extra creative, personally, I look at a bunch of other genres, other things that inspire me, and I try to think differently. I try to think like, okay, so everybody's doing this. What have they done that's, like, can I hunker down? Can I get a small group of guys? Can we make like our own little thing and figure it out? So I think yes and no. I think in the middle is where you fail to have the people. Like what I mean is like you have the people that are hyper competitive that want their ass to be shown, so they're going to be in front of everybody. And then you have those that are introverted and they're going to go home and do their stuff in their closet. But that middle ground is where we're missing the interesting stuff. That middle, somewhere between I'm extroverted and introverted. I want to be seen, but extremely creative. I think that middle ground is the hard part, where you're a little bit of a
Yeah.
hybrid between the two. But
Yeah,
that's me talking out of my ass.
I think there are people like that, like you said, they're waiting, they're working on their masterpiece and then they're just unleashing it kind of thing. And it's
Fucking Joe, that fucking clown,
what?
Joe,
What do you mean? Oh,
Joe
with his
Train Rush.
podcast. Yeah,
They
yeah,
and
okay.
a
Sorry, now I get
year,
you.
a fucking year to release an
Right, right.
episode.
He actually said something the other day. He was like, "Yeah, our audience is small because of like what we talk about is niche and whatever." And I'm thinking maybe it's because you only
He only
release one once a year.
He's gonna release
Everyone's
one
moved
episode.
on.
It took a year.
Right,
In April it'll be April 15th. I think is a year of
right.
between there and the last episode. And they've been
They've
working on
all
this episode for a while.
everyone's moved on. They thought that you ghosted them and they've moved on with their lives. They found another podcast by now.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So, oops, something just fell off my desk, but it's fine. Um, but I think that Ian's right in that, like, the advent of like TikTok and like just the internet in general, I guess, has made that whole localization of the creativity
Hmm.
that's and that whole local competitiveness that you were talking about, which breeds like innovation and like just doing crazy stuff. I think that has gone because of like the internet. I mean, you can find somebody out there that's making similar music to you or pushing the boundaries or whatever anywhere in the world. You don't have to, you know what I mean. And
Hmm.
also, I don't know about uh the US. The US is probably better for the live music scene, but it's kind of not that. It's just not that big a deal in Australia now to go out and see live music.
Oh yeah.
We kind of killed the scene a little bit
Mm.
in Sydney as well. So you need that. If people aren't going to see live music, then there's not really a whole lot of live bands gigging around, and creating that environment there either. So that's kind of killed that whole thing.
Yeah, I
So
can
yeah,
see that.
I guess for rap it's probably different. Like I'm sure that for rap there's a lot of like localized, styles, and they'll probably freestyle against each other and things like that locally, right? And that would breed some creativity. I don't know. You're like looking blank, but you're the one that knows rap, not
No, no,
me.
I'm thinking about what you're saying.
Mm,
I'm thinking, you probably have people who manufacture what their local scene used to be. Then you have people who are currently in the scene, and then you have those people who are local who don't care about their local scene, like people who are just listen to the broader sense of what music is, and they just try to emulate that. Then you've
mm,
on one hand, I think you're right. You don't have the local creativity as much, but
mm,
you have. If you want to get technical, you're competing with the most technical people out there. So it's going to bring up the level of technicians way up. And then that always has the adverse effect where, okay, so everybody's real technical. So let's, like, if you look at the glam metal in the 80s, everybody's real technical, but the substance of their songs weren't technical. Their substance of their songs were just getting laid and drinking and shit and women. And then,
yeah,
you have this counterculture of that, which is going to be, well, we'll play a little bit more punky and we'll talk about things that really matter. And it just, they're tired of this one thing, and this one
yeah,
thing makes you old. Like,
yeah,
the thing about music is, like, it can be popular for like 4 or 5 years, but as soon as the next thing comes, it makes those people who still like that stuff old. And
yeah.
nothing like separates the two, like between young and old people, as much as music, because it's like, that's fucking old, and it's like a year old.
Oh man, yeah. It makes me laugh like when, someone younger. Like I used to get this with dudes and board games. You like board games? Now it's like younger people going, "You like this, this band?" Like, "Whoa." You old fart, you like this band? Ian said, haha, try living in Perth and seeing live music. Unless it's AC/DC cover band, you're out of luck. Yeah, I mean, with board games, maybe there are some like people say the Italian designers kind of thing, and I think that they do like help each other and they play test with each other and things like that.
And
So I
see,
guess
for
there
me,
are those like things going on. But Mo, you are working basically on your own until I invaded,
pretty much. But then like, I was looking up to the Portuguese designers,
right?
and
And
you
that's
have the
another
Italian,
one,
yeah,
right?
and you have
Because
the
they,
Italian designers, and I think you're going to see a resurgence of some German designers coming back, because
mm,
you're starting to see some really interesting things come out, and then you have all the Asian designers that are starting to compete in the same
yeah,
market, which is really fucking cool,
and of course there's the
really cool.
Japanese trick taking games
Yeah,
pocket,
yeah.
right?
You have, like, I don't know, it's
So we've
it's
got that.
going to be
So we
really
got that.
cool.
Yeah. Maybe the shipping prices are so bad that with board games, it's
Yeah,
able to,
that could be a thing.
that could be a thing. You have to stick
Okay.
with your local groups. What were you going to
Oh, the
say?
French scene. I don't know anything about the French scene.
The French
The only
scenes are
thing
pretty strong as well for lighter stuff mostly.
the only thing I remember about the French scene is the dudes who put together Trois, and I guess they put out Black Angel, or is it Dark Angel, whichever one is the Trois
Yeah, that guy.
reinvent.
He's the Carnegie.
Is he?
Yeah.
I know
Is
him
he
and his
French?
brother worked on, or him and his some family member worked on Trois, and I thought they also worked on the Dark thing. But did one of them do Carnegie?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Ian will know.
Hmm.
Ian worked on Carnegie. He will know.
Yeah.
Help us, Ian. I don't know the guy's name. The games are
Side
too
note
far
on this.
away.
Side note on this ACDC thing. ACDC was known for playing on Marshall amplification, Marshall
Yeah.
amps, and Marshall was sold this morning to a company. I believe it's a Norwegian company.
Okay.
Um, this company had a license to produce. They basically bought a license from Marshall, and it was an extended license to make headphones that were branded for Marshall. They made Bluetooth speakers that were branded for Marshall. So they made this little things that were branded with Marshall, right? Okay, Marshall being a old company, basically a grandfather company,
Mm-hmm.
they don't really have room to innovate. So in the last 10 years, nobody can point out to their amps and say, okay, so these innovated the scene. They don't, because they have a very classic sound, and like they just keep reproducing the same stuff, which means in the secondary market, there's so many of them, they've gone
Right.
down in price. And what that
Oh no.
does, they didn't sell that many, in the last few years. So this company who had a license to make this Bluetooth stuff and all that made so much money that they're buying Marshall. They're buying the company they licensed the name for. Now, nobody knows if they're gonna, change up the brand much or anything like that. But
Mm.
it's interesting that we're in the world now of Bluetooth speakers selling, enough to warrant them
To
wanting to
actually
buy
buy
the
proper
original brand.
amps.
Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah, it is crazy.
Okay, here we go. We got the expert now. Twat
Here we
and
go.
Black Angel had three designers, one of which was the owner of Pearl Games, Sebastian Dujardin. I don't know how to say that. Oh, that's the one I was thinking of.
Mhm.
Xavier. Oh, is he French? I don't know how to say the name based on because I don't know which accent to say it. So it could be Javier. It could be Xavier. I don't know. Was one of their other designers, and he designed Carnegie by himself. You have to put
Nice.
the phonetics, please, Ian, so I know. I don't know the
I'm
phonetics.
glad I'm not the one making like.
I know. This is why you want me to read it
Yeah, exactly. Well,
because
partly
you want me
because
to,
I'm illiterate.
yeah, and because you want me to sound illiterate as
Yeah,
well, so we can both
exactly.
be
That'd be both
illiterate.
of us sound like fools.
Javier, Javier Jorge, or it could be I don't know how to say French stuff. I had to get so the Smoky Valley guy. The Smoky Valley guy is
Oh, Serrois?
Claude Siwa. Yeah, I had
Serrois.
to
Yeah.
ask because I was going to do it as a sizzle on the Board Game BBQ,
Ah.
and there's like a Patreon who's French, and I'm like, can you please like before the show, I was like, can you
Oh,
please
okay.
tell me how to pronounce it because I don't want to sound bad. That's insane. A Marshall still considered one of the best amps out there. When I played guitar as a teenager, it was always Marshall Fender.
It depends on the style of music you're going for. If you're doing metal, no. Like they lost their. It's still an acceptable amp, though. I mean, you still have amps now that you would say, okay. Side note: a friend of mine was starting a band, and he put out a call out for looking for a guitarist, and I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I was interested, and he's like, okay, so they're a local touring band, and he's like, so what kind of amp you have, and I had a Marshall, and I was like, I've got a Marshall, and I told him the Marshalls, and he's like, okay, cool, you've got the gear, if you can make it work, that's cool. And this other dude wanted to, uh, what do you call try out, and you know, not even a Marshall, like something else, and he's like, no, you can't try out because the amp you have is shit. So that to say, Marshall amps are still like any tube amp, still a good amp. Marshalls are still great, but in the world, if you looked at in the world, they're not innovating. They would probably be in the world of 1 to 10. They would be in the sevens and sixes. Now you have like amps that are like insane boutique stuff. You have even some commercial stuff that's really good. And I don't know if Ian knows of a company named Mesa Boogie. They got bought out by Gibson. So now Gibson makes an amp, which is Mesa Boogie, which Mesa Boogies are bad fucking ass. Way badass. Anyway,
Cool.
yeah,
I didn't even think I'd
Marshalls
try
right
out.
now are really cheap. Good Marshalls are really cheap, but like these later ones, not of course, the 70 models and 80 models and 60 models are going to be expensive as fuck. But your 2000 models are pretty cheap because the market's pretty flooded because they hadn't innovated much lately. Anyway,
I can't add any value to this conversation whatsoever.
yeah, I was just answering in too much
No, no, no,
detail.
no, 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 no. It's fine. I'm for it.
So there's a French. There's some French designers. We've talked about Italian designers. Of course, I'm into the Portuguese designers. By the way, it looks like the two guys that did Madeira today wrote a letter to everybody saying they were not going to do anything with What's Your Game anymore, and they were going on their own. And I don't know if that means that they're going to
What's your
start their own
game
company.
screwed up, right?
Yeah, with
They
the
screwed up
yeah
big
with
time.
Madeira.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they were waiting around, and they were still connected to What's Your Game. This is all just I think that's true. But anyway,
Mm.
today they announced they're doing their own thing, which
Okay.
means hopefully we'll see something from those guys. That's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah. Amazing
Yeah.
it took that long for that to happen. They're all friends, I guess.
I don't know if he's talking about the amps or if he's talking about the Madeira guys.
I'm
I
guessing the
assume the
Madeira
Madeira
guys.
guys. So
Yeah.
in America, I wonder if there's that group of designers. I mean, you have Cole Worley, which everyone's going to be like pointing at as the guy. Then you have your train guys. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if we really have a pocket that innovates in the Euro space.
You can't call Cole Worley a pocket. He's just one guy. Okay.
He's the one guy that is influencing a lot of up and coming designers. Like they all look up to him, and we're starting to see a lot of more experimental designs because of him. Then you have
Like which? I want to know.
Hollandspill. You have
Okay.
also the
Yeah.
Hollandspill crowd as well.
Yeah.
I would consider Daniel part of the Hollandspill crowd that are
Mm-hmm.
doing more punk rock,
Yeah.
small
Different.
publishing,
Yeah. That's
not
cool.
afraid to
That's
go
why
a
I put
little
it
bit.
out on my. So it's funny. Like, did I already talk about this? I put out a tweet because I wanted like more, names of publishers that are doing that kind of weird stuff
Hmm.
like that. And then I just got so many people going, I've got a Kickstarter. I'm doing this. I'm doing cool stuff. And I'm like, I wanted to
Yeah,
like,
Nuno and
I'm
Paolo.
um, specifically asking about publishers, but it's all
But
good.
no, like I've got a game. I've got a game out on Kickstarter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So funny. Cool. What else? Are you going to talk about bloody, the game you thought was the most amazing game that you've ever played in the past
I
year or so?
can Horseless Miscarriage. Okay, so Horseless Miscarriage. It
You should
had
only call it that if it's bad.
no,
If
no.
it's good, you shouldn't call it that.
It's no. The reason why it's miscarriage is because they put out a okay. So it was missing some tokens that were the wrong colors.
Yeah.
The tokens are important. There's some colors in the tokens, and there's a hatching in it that for colorblind people to show which direction it goes. They didn't have enough of the right, so like four different colors or three different colors. Maybe it was only two, and so they issued a reprint and printed just those, and then they sent those. They were going to send those out,
Mm.
and those have a mistake on them too. So the reprint has a
Oh
mistake, so
no.
that's the miscarriage part.
Oh no.
But
So they have to
they're
do it
not
a
going to
third
redo it
time?
again.
They're not.
No, it's if
It's
you have
just
to
not
wait for a
worth it.
second printing
Okay.
because it's the I think it's the name of the colors wrong on it now,
Right. Okay.
the name code or whatever. But like the hatching is right, the color of the piece is right, just the word is wrong. So don't read.
Okay. So don't read.
But
What
yeah,
else?
that
Don't read
game
the
is
rule book also.
fucking amazing. I was 100% right. Buy a horseless carriage. It is very difficult.
I
If you
remember
can
that
get a copy,
episode.
yeah, I said
You
it
telling
is,
everyone to
and
buy it.
I'm 100%. It is without a doubt so far the best game I've played in the last few years. Barrage is the last game that even compares, and I think it's better than Barrage by far. For
Wow.
my opinion, for my style of game, it's way better than Barrage, and Barrage is pretty high. But Barrage didn't make my top 10 or top 25. Well, maybe my top 25. Horse's Carriage for sure. I don't even have to think about it. It's in the top 25. I don't know if it can make my top 10. Top 10 is pretty tight,
Yeah.
but
That's not
oh
gonna go.
man,
That's
it's
not gonna
good.
change for a while.
It is freaking good. And the people who have problems with it, it just might not be your style of game, but it's a good game.
Ian says it doesn't matter. Even the mistake in the original printing didn't affect us at all.
Yeah, yeah. It's got these little chevrons that
Yeah.
point to a. Basically, you can look at it like um, a type of thing, like it breaks or a thing that your factory is going to make.
Mm.
So you can kind of look at it like the way that I envision it is that little arrow thing, which is a chevron, makes cubes. What type of cubes does it make? It points to a thing that must make those kind of cubes. But
Right.
that piece is also a connecting piece. So in the game, uh, the way to look at it is your factory has four different sides, A, B, C, and D, and tiles need to connect to the side that they produce from. So brakes might be side A, and those need to make a connection to side A of the factory. So there's all these little weird connection rules, but you can use certain pieces as connectors as well. Like connections can go through another piece to connect to another piece. So it's this little strange thing. You kind of just have to see the rules. It's really hard to
Yeah.
explain, but it's so good.
Did you play with the sports cars
Yes,
and
we did.
trucks?
We played with the sports cars and trucks. In the end, Lyndon won with the sports car. He selling sports cars. He beat me by like $2 or something like that. He just sold like just the right amount of sports car. No one competed with the sports cars. Brian had fucked up and made it where his cars could not sell because um, they weren't up to speed on the current level of technology. So his cars did not sell, and so I was selling trucks and cars the whole time. But the sports cars are just worth so much, and then they were also
Poor
at the
Brian.
highest appeal
Poor Brian.
in
He
this.
thought he thought too much.
Yeah. He's oh
Possible
man,
to think too much in a board game,
yes,
and
yes,
you reverse everything. You just make it worse.
yeah.
You overthink
His
and you fail.
Yeah, his thing would be to optimize his layout. Kind of like if you're playing Clinic and you're optimizing your buildings and stuff, he spends extra time doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm very haphazard. I'm like, this game is going to last long enough where this is going to matter. And if it
Yeah.
does, I'll try to build through. And so in that, he overthought
Forgets
and
to
fucked
actually
everything
make
up.
points.
He forgot to actually make points. That's pretty much
Forgot to
what
make
happened.
points.
He
Yeah.
fucked up. It's an amazing game. It is fucking amazing.
I'm
I love that
waiting for
game.
mine still.
I
What's
don't want to
going
play with Brian
on?
again. I'm gonna
When I
have
say
to, but
mine, I mean ours.
yeah, that's what you mean.
You're gonna play it too much, and then you're just gonna beat me every time. And then
I don't
I'm
want to
gonna
play
be
with
like, I
Brian.
don't
It
want to
takes
play
too
with you.
long. I don't want to play with Brian.
Okay.
It takes too fucking long.
Um,
It is real easy to fuck yourself
what
up
was
in
the
the
best
factory.
part?
The best part is the factory thing. Trying to figure out how to make it like you're just there alone with yourself, trying to make your factory optimize your factory, or not, and that's where the whole game is at.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest is going to be tools to make that happen. And where I've only played it once, but I'm in the discussion with Craig on how to make it possible to. Okay, so like in food chain, there's a lot of different strategies, and it doesn't feel like horseless carriage has that many variants in like whether I can play a dynamic strategy or if I have to be very narrow or wide in my like in my
Is
building
that
in my
because you
factories.
have to stick to the current technology, or you won't sell things?
Right, and I'm thinking that you can dictate what the technology is by making enough. They're called Gantt, making enough Gantt points to make the choices for everybody else.
Kind of
And if
like doing
you,
the marketing in food chain.
yeah, you dictate what everyone else is going to have to fucking do. I think that
Right.
might be the thing to do.
Ian said, "Did you feel like the market board could be more interesting? That's the only real criticism I've heard. I don't mind because the factory is so good, but there are rarely any decisions to be made during the selling phase."
Um, I think that would be too much to make the marketing. I think it was a good decision not to make marketing huge because it's a race for technology. If you look historically, you're basically waiting to get to Henry Ford. That's it. Henry Ford figured it out. Once you get to Henry Ford, the market's decimated. It's all like everyone has to start from the ground up. And so for me, I don't think the marketing should change or be any harder. It's really easy. That's not where the game's at. And I can understand because it says market. People want the game to be there. It's not there. It's just not there. I'm okay with it. I don't feel like it's too narrow. I think it's perfect for what it is. But what do I know? I don't know anything.
Board game. Nobody's. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, it's really good. Um, I think you'll really like it. I think you'll really like it. I think it's the factory, man. The factory shit is amazing.
Do you think I'm going to end up doing the same thing that I did in Victory Through Industry and like putting all my shit too close together and I can't build anything? That was
I
so
think everyone's gonna
devastating.
do that. Actually, I think it's just. I think it's everyone's gonna do that. Yeah, there's so much to do in the factory. You're gonna try so many different things,
Yeah.
and every game's gonna be different.
Yeah. I'm going to be playing some games with Ian next week.
Oh,
If it
cool.
wasn't a chunky box, I'd bring it to Sydney. Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, it's chunky, and then people are having a
Chunky.
really hard time putting it together in their box. Like it won't. There's too
It
much.
doesn't go back in.
It doesn't go back in.
It's a
It doesn't go
chunky
back in.
game.
It is very
That's what it
chunky.
is. It's not chunky,
Very,
it's
very
chunky.
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 I don't know. I think it's so good. It's so good.
Nice. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah,
It's so weird how we know what each other will like.
really.
Like I can almost, yeah, I can almost like we're talking about the T games and talking about Tekken and how heavy it is, but I can almost guarantee I know exactly how you'll feel about the game.
Really.
Yeah, I think you will like it. I think you'll find the mechanics interesting. I think you'll find it hard, but I think you'd be like just not in like I kind of know the like level of excitement that you're going to have for it, and the level of excitement is not going to be very high
Mm.
because of the fact that it's not about anything
Real.
real world. Yeah, not that you don't like you love Mage Knight and that's fantasy, but I think when it comes to Euros, you probably prefer something more about real stuff. I don't know, like
Mm.
history or
But there's definitely an added
or like
excitement to that.
yeah, like history or like feeling like you're actually building a city or like feeling like you're actually building a network or like that kind of shit. I feel like you like more. You get into
Yeah,
more than
totally.
just we this is
Marketing
a
and all this.
mechanics game that we have made look pretty and it looks like it's in ancient Egypt and it's like none of this is really about ancient Egypt. I mean, yeah, kind of is. I don't know. I don't know. I could be wrong. For you two, is it a general vibe that lest you know the other will like it? For my Sarah, there are definitely some boxes that need to be ticked before I'll even show a game to her. Yeah, I'm not going to show Mo over a game. No way. I don't want that. I don't want that hate. If he hates it, I have to hear about it forever. Like,
Well,
oh, this fucking game.
I think okay, so I think I'm lucky. Sarah's more of an Omni gamer, and so I'm lucky. I can probably show her anything that I like. I'm not saying she'll like it, but she'll like at least I will show her something that has value to me. And I think she'll definitely at least appreciate the value. Might not be her favorite game, but would see something interesting in it. Where I'm a little bit, I'm not an Omni gamer. I don't want to play everything. I don't care about like if it's a 2.5 and not real world history shit. I'm not probably going to be interested at all. Like, just retheme a game I already like, and I'm probably not going to like it because like put dragons in his victory through industry, and I'm gonna fucking hate the game.
Yeah, or superheroes.
Yeah, superheroes. I'm fucking not gonna touch your goddamn game. So I think I got it easy because Sarah can value games for their mechanics and what they are, and me, I'm pretty jaded. There's a lot of stuff I just don't want to play. There's too much to play, and for me, it's just easier to narrow the playing field and say, look, I can value people's mechanics because my mechanical side, but I don't have that much time left on the earth left, man. I'm gonna die in a couple years. So I need to only play good stuff. I need to play stuff that has potential.
That's really funny. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. We just know. Like, I just know what you're going to curmudgeon hard about. And
I like Dice Realms. I'm the one who told you
true.
about Dice Realms, remember?
I know. I didn't say anything about
Yeah, but
Dice
that doesn't
Realms.
that falls outside of what I think you would think that I would like. Am I right?
Um,
If you were given Dice Realms, except for who the designer is, would you say, this is a game Mo needs to
if
play?
I didn't know who the designer was.
Right, if you didn't know who the
Mm,
designer was.
maybe because, okay, so you have like three pockets. You have
Oh,
three
God.
pockets of like
See
your
what you
taste,
did,
right?
Ian? See what you did? You're going to cause
Actually,
a
no,
fight.
you have four. You have four. You have
I have
four.
4
Okay.
pockets.
Yeah,
Well,
you
I'm
have
a
four
dude.
pockets.
I got pockets.
Yeah, and I don't have any pockets. Okay, so you have like trick taking games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I pretty much know the trick taking games you'll like, which is
Style, yeah.
basically anything that's really mean.
Pretty much.
And
Yeah, it's got
then,
to be mean
yeah.
and deep.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, deep, like interesting. You have to think about different tactics and then mean. And then you've got dexterity games.
Oh, yeah, that's the 4th pocket. I
That's your
love dexterity
weakness. That's
games.
your like a fucking, I don't know, it's your weird thing. It's like your inner child or something. And then you've got Then you've got um, your euros, which I think you're very specific about, and a total curmudgeon
Hmm.
over. And then what was the other one? Oh no, I've forgotten.
Oh, there's only three.
No, there's five. There's 18xx. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
Then
if
you've
it's
got
18x.
18xx,
Mm.
which I imagine that you're more into the stock stuff
Yeah,
than
all the
the.
stock stuff. Yeah, I hate the operations. I love stock. Yeah.
Yep.
Stop shenanigans.
And then, damn it, there was another one. Trick taking, 18xx, heavy, deep euros. What was the other one I said? 18xx. There was another one. There was another one. No, I forget.
So there's another
Hit a
there's
roll,
another
guys. No, I'm kidding.
one night werewolf games. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
One
hit a
night
roll games.
werewolf game.
One night werewolf. But
Oh
yeah,
my
I just
gosh.
like I pretty much know in each of those categories what you're gonna like, except for dexterity because I have no idea. I
You don't
don't
even
know what
consider them games. You
I
like
don't even
kid
consider them
stuff.
games. I don't want to think about them. But they're not. It's not that they're not fun. I just don't want to think about them really. Oh no. I remember. Your card stuff. You're like magic. You're like the side of you that's like into magic.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is the
Magic the
part.
Gathering itch. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So like
The
there's
Dice
that
Realms
whole thing
falls
of
into
you.
that. Falls into that
Yes,
for
it
sure.
does. And so does Dominion and so does so that yeah, that was the one I was and that's kind of like not
Race for the
really
Galaxy falls into
yeah, Race
that.
for the Galaxy, you know. I guess even Mage Knight in a way. But that
Yeah.
national is more like heavy Euro. But yeah. So I know like all the facets of your tastes.
Okay, so I've got a question for Ian. I've got something else to bring up in a moment, but like the question I want to ask Ian, Dungeons and Dragons movie yes or Dungeons and Dragons movie no? I was not interested in Dungeons and Dragons movie because I just think it's going to be a Marvel movie dressed up like Dungeons and Dragons, right? That's like they have the template now. The template is, you know, Dungeons and Dragons is Marvel now, is what I think. And I think I think that it's just not for me. I don't know. What do you think?
You're imagining so hard right now. I'm about to watch the trailer because I don't know what you're talking
Oh,
about. So
uh,
that's what I'm doing, just so you know. Oh, Auntie Donna are like introducing it.
okay.
It's got to
So
be good. I
the one
immediately
thing
like
that
it.
I am okay, so there's the two things that he did bring up a point. I do like going to the movies. I do like premieres. I do like being one of the first people to. I like being an early adopter. Uh,
Oh, the dragon looks bad, you guys.
the other thing is they have a popcorn D20. It's a D20 that has the open side, and it's gonna be you can get a thing of popcorn with the D20. I want that thing. I want
What
it.
do you want? Tell me what you want again.
It's a D20 pocket. I mean, a D20 thing that holds popcorn. It's just this big D20 holds popcorn. Like, did you go to
Oh,
any
okay.
of the Star Wars
Right.
premieres? You got like the Death Star and it had popcorn in it. And you've got like all those things,
That's the US thing.
I know. I know it's stupid and I'm not going to use it for anything and it'll end up in the trash in a month, but still, I want it.
We did get cups. We used to get cups. Like I remember we had like the Terminator cups and we had like, the Ghostbusters cups and we had like
Oh,
Jurassic
yeah.
Park cups. So yeah, you used to get the collector's cups and drinks came in it. But we didn't ever have a giant weird shaped popcorn thing. Ian says, blah, blah, blah. Probably no, although I might go see it anyway just because I like going to the cinema. I'm on a huge kick of watching old movies at the moment. Mary was going through that. So I'm loving
Yep.
the lack of CGI. Not sure I can handle CGI dragons. That dragon looks bad.
Dragon Slayer Dragon, the best dragon. And who's
Hey
Hellrunner?
guys, good point. I can't do superhero movies anymore. Hellrunner has been here before a few
Oh, okay.
times. You've watched us play things, pretty sure.
Yeah.
Apparently, we have like 6 people viewing. What's going on?
Oh, so I think, oi.
Ahoy! Hello, Ruckus.
I
Rolls. I
really
don't know
think it'll
you
be
guys.
Marvel.
You
It's
already-
going to be Marvel fucking Dungeons and Dragons, which is better than the last Dungeons and Dragons movie by far.
What was the
But
last Dungeons and Dragons? Shit, now I gotta watch another trailer?
that was like back in
I
the
don't know anything.
late 90s, I think, maybe early 2000s. There was another Dungeons and Dragons movie. I was there for that premiere as well.
The still of the mimic chest looks okay.
Yeah, yeah, true that.
It's frozen. It's broken my whole phone now. I can't see.
Um, yeah, the old one was better. Okay, so talking about like CGI dragons, freaking Dragon Slayer, still the Disney movie, fucking amazing. That dragon, I used to know its name, so fucking amazing, man. I love that dragon. That dragon is the shit. Way better than Peter Jackson's dragon from The Hobbit, Smaug. Better than Smaug.
What?
The dragons,
When was this movie out? Was it 2000? Was it not that
maybe, maybe.
old?
The dragons in Game of Thrones were all right, but still, they nothing beats that old ass dragon in Dragon Slayer. God damn, that dragon was badass.
What was so good about the dragon? Tell me.
It was I think it was
Tell me of the
claymation.
dragon.
It was
Oh,
claymation. It was
okay. You
fucking
love that.
amazing. And they had the dude on its neck like trying to kill it and shit. That was amazing. I
I'm just
love that
watching
fucking
this
dragon.
trailer.
Oh, which for the old Dungeons and
This is
Dragons?
the reaction video, the old one.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, it's
Let's
not
see.
that great. It's so bad that I've only
Oh,
seen it
this looks
once.
cool
What?
so
No, no,
far.
no. I saw it on Sci-Fi as well. Did it have an Eye of the Beholder in it? I don't remember.
Haven't
I
seen a
don't
preview
remember if
yet.
it did or not. If it did,
But
I would have been happy about that.
so far, I'm liking the look of this more than more than the
The
new
new
one.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Vermithrax puppet.
Vermithrax. He's a puppet. Ah,
It
there you go.
wait, it was a female, not he, because it was a female, because it had pups, dragon pups.
Wait, what? So Clover even. Hey Sarah, the bad clue giver in Clover. Oh, I can.
So you know who that is?
Yes. He kept
Oh,
teasing me. He kept teasing me about my clues. Everyone was getting mine 100% correct. Okay. That's how good my clues are. Bam.
Rain of Fire. I wanted to see it, but then I don't know. It just something about it just kind of looked a little bit B movie. But I'll check it out based on the dragons.
Saggy Jello 89. Hi. That's a cool name.
Saggy Jello.
Saggy Jello. I like the Rate of Fire Dragons more than the movie.
What is the movie with dragons and it's got like World War II um, airplanes in it? It has like fucking the Mustang, the U.S. For the P. What is it? P. I forgot the fucking name of the thing. And then it's got the famous fast English airplanes in it, as well as dragons. It's like World War II and dragons mixed in it together.
Wow, what a combo!
Yeah,
I think like this is becoming the new werewolf thing, isn't
yeah.
it?
The
We're
P
gonna
fifty
end up
one.
having Ian on the show, and we're
What's
gonna
the
talk about
English airplane that the one that it was competing with? Because like the English airplane on the end, it had like rounded wings, and the P-51 had flat wings, but they competed. It is like a Spitfire. Yes, the hits the Spitfire and the Hurricanes.
my ex-wife is a dragon, but instead of fire, it's vitriol.
Oh,
Oh, ouch!
okay. I
We
like
had the
this little
funniest
roll
chat.
we're on about chatting about
Yeah,
dragons and shit.
yeah.
Um,
Why is it that like women that women that aren't very nice are called dragons, but it doesn't
Dragon
really happen
ladies.
with
It's
guys?
it's
Yeah.
a it's a Chinese thing. The Dragon Lady thing started
Oh,
with it
tell me
was a
about the dragon
Chinese
lady
slur.
thing.
I don't know, but I know it has to do with Chinese dragon lady slur. It
All
was
right.
a Chinese slur. It was a slur against Chinese women.
Oh no,
I know about it in the
that's
U.S.
racist now.
during the railroad days in the West.
Oh, okay. That went somewhere I didn't think it was gonna go.
Uh,
I love Haku, the dragon in
Oh
Cinderella.
yeah, animated dragon. That's a whole nother lane though.
Yeah.
Like
They're
animated
cool. They
dragons.
could fly through the sky and be all like, wee, I'm a cloud. Those dragons are cool.
You know the dragon that
Happy
was in
dragons.
um the last Zelda game was pretty cool. The one that was like just floating in the air that you had to get on.
I don't remember it. It was floating in the air?
Yeah, there was a dragon.
In
It
Breath
was
of the
like a
Wild.
yeah in
Oh
Breath of the
yeah,
Wild,
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Chinese dragon
That's
that
one
you
of
had
the
to
flat. That's the one that I'm talking about.
yeah
The floaty one. That's the lane I live in. Is that your
the
favorite kind of
animated
dragon?
dragon lane. Oh man. Okay, so the most awesome thing happened to me when I was a kid. My mom went to garage sales, and there was I guess some teenagers that had gone to college, and she bought a shit ton of Dungeons and Dragons books, like a shit ton for like $50. We had like 10 bags full of fucking Dungeons and Dragons stuff, right? And like I just pulled out the monster manual and just immediately started drawing all the dragons, I just drew all that I could draw, man. It was so cool.
That's weird that we both did that. Such nerds. Except I
Yeah.
didn't have D&D books. I had my dad's White Dwarves.
Oh,
I
that would
used
have
to
been
draw.
cool.
Yeah,
That was like
used to draw those
the
crazy stuff.
expensive stuff.
Yeah. What about the old school Ray Harryhausen clay dragon from Sinbad? Doesn't beat the skeletons, but it's pretty good.
I don't remember the dragon because I can only remember the skeletons because whenever they show classic stop motion, they always show the skeletons fighting the skeletons, and they've been redone several times. If you look on like YouTube, you can see the redone skeleton fight, but I don't remember the dragon stuff. Do you know what he's talking about, Sarah?
I'm so out of my depth. I don't know what's going on.
Like
Like
you
this
guys have
is
just
seriously
nerded up.
reminiscent.
You
Yeah, this
guys
is
have all
reminiscent of
nerded
like the
out.
werewolf thing where you and Ian were talking about the werewolf movies, and I'm like,
Oh,
no, I
way
haven't seen that.
deeper.
No, I haven't seen that. No, I haven't seen that. I got no idea what's going on. Can we talk
Who's
about games now? No, I'm kidding. This is fine.
I
I like
remember going
dragons.
to
I like
Gen
dragons.
Con. No, no, no. I went to Genghis Con and they had an
You went
art
to
auction.
you went to what? What's Genghis Khan?
Genghis
Genghis
Con is
Khan.
in Denver, Colorado. They have um, a convention for board games and role playing. Back then, it was mostly role playing, and I went for it was a new board game scene at the time, and they were auctioning off a couple of original um, paintings, and I don't remember the guy that did it, but they were original Dungeons and Dragons paintings that you could actually see on like some of the original books, and it was way outside of what I could pay. But man, it was so cool seeing them in the flesh.
Yeah, I don't know.
They
I
were
don't
they were
know about
expensive. They
that.
were really cool.
He was
We
a
missed a
wicked
lot.
looking dragon. Are you reading the note? Are you reading the
No,
things? Or you
what did,
still want me to read them out?
please?
Just okay. Well, it gives me something to do because I'm not adding any value to the conversation otherwise.
You're supposed to do the Vanna
I have
White
no
thing and just
idea.
like here's the chat. What do
Yeah,
we got?
I don't even know what my favorite dragon is. Do you remember the picture? Because I could probably tell you. My favorite fictional dragon
I
is
don't remember the picture.
Melanthon from the Iron Dragon's Daughter.
I'm thinking the picture was from the same guy, and I'll get to Ian in a second. The picture was from the same guy who did the original player's handbook that had a dragon in it, I think. But I could, man, you know how I don't have a great memory. It was dragons on the front of old TSR stuff. I think it would have been second or third edition. I think it's second edition stuff. Anyway, so what did Ian say? I missed it.
He said my favorite fictional dragon is Melanthon. I can't say it. From the Iron Dragon's Daughter.
I don't know that.
I need
Is that a
phonetics, Ian.
is that a animated series or is that books or
I love the Dragonlance books as a kid as well.
oh fuck yeah.
You guys
Oh
make
yeah.
me feel like I don't like dragons. Like at the start of today, I was like, I
You thought
like
you liked
dragons.
dragons and
I
then
thought
today
that I
now
did.
and
And then
now we're
after
like
this conversation, I'm like, I don't. I don't
Ian's
really like
blowing
them.
me away with remembering the names of some dragons.
He's like the opposite of you, babe.
I know.
You
I
have
don't
no idea
remember
what
names.
happened. Yeah, you got
Ian
no
knows
idea
all
what
the
happened
names.
in the past. And then Ian's like saying all these things, and it's like, wow, my mind, it's expanding. Larry Elmore has the famous red dragon cover for Redbox Basic D&D.
I'm gonna have to go back and look. That name sounds
Sisu was
very familiar.
cool. Sisu was cool from the Disney movie. You might know it, Sarah. Ren would love the movie The Last Dragon.
I haven't
I
seen it.
haven't seen it. All right, I'll add it. I'll add it to the list. Things to watch. Iron Dragon's Daughter is a novel from Michael Swanwick. Strongly recommended. It's nuts. Cool.
Mm. I remember first reading about dragons in it was the original drag. Well, no, it was what was that place? Um, Greyhawk. Say Greyhawk had a really interesting. They had like a two-book thing about just like explaining Greyhawk and the different places, and it had this whole thing about dragons. It was so cool. Was that like the original Dragonlance scene? I think it was Greyhawk before they. I think they brought it back, but for there it was gone for a while. But Greyhawk was fucking amazing.
No one's even mentioned Falcon the Luck Dragon from the Neverending Story.
He was a luck dragon. Oh, I thought he was just a flying hairy dog.
Yeah, I thought he was a dog too.
I guess he's a more of the Asian type of dragon, the luck dragon, Asian type.
I mean, I've kind of seen him as a dragon, but also...
Falcor.
Falcor, yeah, Falcon. Falcor, yeah. Kryn was Dragonlance.
Okay, a side
Was
note: a friend of mine had a little Spanish Shepherd, smartest dog I've ever known. His name was Falcor. Falcor could recognize dogs, animated dogs on TV. He knew they were dogs. He was that smart. Like if he saw a dog on TV, like a real dog,
I
he
think
would bark
I know
at it.
that. Yeah.
Right,
That's not
right. But he
unusual.
saw animated dogs and he would bark at them. Only animated dogs.
Only animated dogs,
Right. He
like
wouldn't
as in
bark
he
at other
he
animated
wouldn't.
things like cats or anything, just animated dogs and real dogs on TV.
I don't think that's that weird.
Oh, I don't see how
Could be
dogs could
wrong.
recognize dogs on TV.
Really?
Yeah.
If they're woofing, they're like making dog noises,
No,
wagging their tail.
they're talking like people, but they're dogs, and he's barking at
Oh,
them
they're
because they
talking
look
like
like dogs.
people.
Yeah.
They're talking like people.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a bit weird, I guess. Greyhawk was Gary Gygax's D&D world, yeah. First came up in 1974 for original D&D. Kryn was Dragonlance, like Ian said. I love
Mm.
how Mo bristled when I called him a nerd. Look at you.
oh,
Right.
oh
100%. He is
shit.
out nerding me
Okay,
so
so
hard right now. I went
this
and I had all his
this
D&D
episode is
books and it was amazing. It was the best memory of my childhood.
this episode is going to be deleted after this because no one can see
No
this
one.
ever again. I'm a
Got him.
metal nerd, not a dragon nerd.
Yeah.
Nerds, dragons. Psh, the hell you guys talking about dragons? They're not real.
I gotta go on that note. Mic drop moment.
I wanted to talk about something else, but we'll bring it up next time. If you
Yeah.
get a chance between
On
here and
Tuesday, we'll do
there,
it. Are you
the
going to ask me
question,
to watch like 10 dragon movies?
yeah, watch all the
Between here
dragon
and there?
movies you can. We're gonna have a dragon episode
Oh,
soon. Play Flamecraft, and any other dragon
no.
games.
Flamecraft. Yeah, no metalheads with songs about fantasy novels. Nice.
Man, he's putting these smooth burns on me, isn't he?
Yeah.
Smooth
Maybe
burn.
I'll stay. Maybe I'll stay. I don't need to go just yet. This is great.
Smooth. Okay, so the question is, okay, so we don't start with we don't have show notes, so we don't say, hey, we talk about this game, because that would require research. like
Right. We don't
like
want
if we
to
talked about a specific game,
have to do work.
we would actually have to do work. We just talk about like memory and don't remember it well and half-ass talk about it. So when a
Yeah.
game, when a podcast or whatever brings up a name of a game and they say we're going to talk about this game, the question is like, do you expect authority? Do you expect them to have done research? Do you care because you already know the game? What level of details do you want them to know about the game? So like, what if they tell you things that are not true? Like if they tell you the game lasts about 3.5 hours, but the truth is it lasts about 2. Little things like that. Like What are
Is
you
this the
looking
thing you
for?
want an answer? You want me to
No, no,
answer this
I don't want
now,
an
or you
answer
want me
now.
to?
I'm bringing these
I've
things
got to
up now
think
because
about it
I'm gonna bring it up
because you're
next
gonna
time,
ask me, right? Okay.
and I'm gonna have
I
you
was
listen to a
thinking.
couple of podcasts. I'm probably not gonna say right now which podcast to listen to. Let's just say there's a couple that came out in
Interesting.
this last week, and they're not
And they're full of
factual.
lies.
I wouldn't call them full of lies. I would say they haven't done their research,
Oh,
and they're talking about something that is
they're
very
full
dear
of
to a lot of people.
accidental untruths.
Yeah, yeah. If you're going to talk about something old, the problem with talking about something old is the data is out there. Research it.
Yeah.
That's going to be my point. But we'll leave with something like that and think about it
All
and
right.
watch some dragon stuff because we're going to talk more
Oh
dragons next
God,
time. We
I
got to
think
have
we
a
do
dragon
need.
episode. We got to
We
have a
have
dragon
that.
episode.
Oh no, I'm so out of it. You and Ian can do that. I'll just, I'll just watch it. Saggy Jello says, depends on the podcast. I like both, but if I had to pick a format, I'm a fan of having and one or two people who don't know yet. Yeah, what they're just like the ones that pick the other person apart.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't mind that.
Line of fire.
Totally depends on the podcast. Haha. Listening to the board game snobs for in-depth stuff on a game is silly.
I waver. I will either you have to know a lot or don't
Or a little, or
just
be like us and just like
yeah
be just winging it.
yeah. We're not really about talking about the details of board games. We're just more talking about culture, like board
Yeah.
game culture, and being a little bit real about not trying to sell a specific game, except for Horseless Carriage. You got to buy it. It's fucking amazing. Other than that, not really trying to sell anything. But anyway, I guess on that
Just
note,
bitching about things. Yeah,
yeah, we're
I
we're
gotta
here to
go
bitch
pick
about
up
things.
Chloe.
Cool. All right, so I guess we're gonna let that go. Thanks everyone for showing up and listening and
We're
stuff
gonna
like that.
talk
Watch
about that thing that we just brought up. We're gonna talk
next
about
time.
it on Tuesday. Yeah,
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, we're
we'll
gonna do
remind
it
it.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right, Tuesday it'll be. All right,
Okay.
thanks for
Bye,
showing up,
everyone.
everybody.
Thanks for showing
Especially
up.
Saggy Jello. Love the name. All right, and Ian, of course, and
Bye.
everybody. Bye. How do you turn this damn thing off?